Today we will start a new chapter named Nelson Mandela. Before we start the chapter, we should know who was Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela was a South African anti-apartheid revolutionary political leader who served as president of South Africa from 1994 to 1999. So, anti-apartheid, or what is apartheid? Apartheid is nothing, but in South Africa, there happens to a racial discrimination in between the black and the whites. So the whites and the blacks have two separate constitution. They have their separate ideology. So after Nelson Mandela tried to bring a change, tried to bring a revolution in South Africa by bringing a common constitution for both the black and the white. You will study this Nelson Mandela again in your political science in class 10. Okay. So we are starting with the Nelson Mandela. And Nelson Mandela was also the country's first black head of the state and the first elected in a fully representative democratic election. We will start this chapter and we would like to discuss that how Nelson Mandela became the president of South Africa and how he tried to bring a unity and change the mindset of the people of the South Africa. So see, Nelson Mandela swears in as the first black president of South Africa on 10th May 1994. We are going through the synopsis of Nelson Mandela chapter, then we will discuss in detail. Okay, so he became the first black president on 10th May 1994. During the time of his swearing, two national anthems were sung. He wished that freedom in Africa should ring. That is, freedom in Africa should exist. We sung the national anthem when we got independence. So during the ceremony of Nelson Mandela as the first president of South Africa, he sung two national anthems which he feel that freedom must exist in South Africa. Freedom of whom? Freedom among the people to live a life peacefully. The swearing in ceremony took place in the lovely sandstone amphitheater in Pretoria. So next you should remember where the ceremony takes place. The ceremony takes place in amphitheater in Pretoria. Okay. Next, he addressed the rainbow gathering with a jest, telling that never, never, and never again should it be that beautiful land would experience the oppression of one by another. So when he became the president, he felt that this beautiful land will never experience the oppression of one by the other. Why? Because this beautiful land has got the independence and the same constitution, and there should not be any racial discrimination in between the black and the white. He wished that freedom in Africa should exist. Freedom is the ultimate truth of life. Without freedom, you cannot live a life according to your choice, and without living, there is no life. So the next point is the army officials who could have caught have put him in jail before were saluting him to pay respect to the newly born democracy. So South Africa has got a new democratic president and new democratic way of life to Nelson Mandela. And the army officials have caught and put him in jail before he got the salutation from them and respect from them in our newborn democracy. The two national anthems were sung at the time of his swearing in ceremony. Swearing in ceremony means, you will study in political science too. Swearing in ceremony means that the president has to take an oath in front of the people and the others that he will maintain a true faith and allegiance to the constitution of the country. Okay, so this two national anthem for the country is used to be sung during the time of swearing ceremony. Okay, next is he recalls back the history and pays homage to the national mariters who sacrificed their life for the sake of their motherland. So the history is made by the soldiers, by the mariters who have given their life to bring a new revolutionary change in the land of the world. So he thanked and he paid homage, he paid respect to the mariters who have given their life for this racial discrimination, for this motherland, where he feel that apartheid policy, apartheid revolution should be changed. So he was one of the most important anti-apartheid revolutionaries during that time. He tells about the Mauritius were the man of extraordinary courage and wisdom and generosity. In order to fight a battle, in order to win a battle, in order to get good public opinion, in order to have dignity in your life, you should have the courage, you should have the wisdom and generosity, so that you became an extraordinary person in front of the others. Here also we will discuss, and we are discussing also, that how the mariters have given their life by fighting the battle courageously, and they have a generosity about their work, about their profession. So Nelson Mandela pay homage to these national mariters who have sacrificed their life for the sake of their motherland. So the next point is, the country of South Africa is rich in minerals and gems, but the greatest wealth of the country is its people. Not only in South Africa, this is very much true for every country, for every state, for every district, that people are the greatest wealth of a nation. Without the people, there is no political, economic, social, cultural, linguistic progress of life. So in South Africa is rich in mineral and gem, and the greatest wealth of this country is its people. So as a government, as a president, one should respect, one should have the opinion about its people. People should get proper peaceful life, so that government or the president have their own profession fulfilled. So he tells no one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin, or his background, or his religion. So Nelson Mandela felt that no one is born, one cannot born by hating another person, by his skin color, by his family background, by his religion, every color, every family background, every customs, every traditions should be respected. If people learn to hate, they can be taught to love too. So love and hate are the two opposite of each other. So if people learn to hate, they can be taught to love. Love can bring everything back, and hate can bring everything down. So he talks that man's goodness is a flame that can be hidden but never exhausted. So there is no end of goodness. There is no end of goodness. So man goodness is a flame, and which can be hidden, but it cannot be exhausted. Flame doesn't get exhausted, so the goodness of the man cannot be exhausted. It can burn throughout the life, and this goodness is remembered after the death. So he talks next about the twin obligation. Obligation means what? Our barrier of life. So people stay in this world by the obligation of two things, which is very much true for every person in the world. One is family, and another is nation. One have a family for the country, and the country exists with the help of small family. So these independent states, suppose I'm giving an example, these independent states are regarded as a family, and the India is regarded as the country. So one should respect the states, and by respecting the states, one should get the country. So like this here, Nelson Mandela is also telling us that one live by the obligation of two things in life. One is family, and the other his nation, his country, his respect, his identity. So at the last section, we are discussing, or we will discuss, while discharging his duties, he found he was not free. So man is not born freely. Everywhere he was in chain. So while performing our duties, while having our rights, we feel that in somewhere we are not free, we are being dictated by the upper hand. Hence, he joined African National Congress, ANC. You will study this in your civics portion, how Nelson Mandela performed his duties towards the African people by joining the African National Congress. Okay. You will study this in your civics portion, but in the English portion, you should only know that whenever we perform any duties, we are not free. So, in order to have his own ideas or to implement his ideas in front of the African people, he joined the African National Congress to fight for the freedom of his country. Without joining somewhere, you cannot have fulfilled your dream. You are going to school to fulfill your dream of your mother and father. So Nelson Mandela also want to fulfill the dream of his country. To bring freedom of his country, he joined the African National Congress. So he well known about the oppressor must be liberated just as surely as the oppressed. He knew very well that there are two people, like rich and poor, black and white. There are oppressor and the oppressed. So one always dominates the other. So he discussed about the oppressor who need to be liberated, who need to have freedom, just as the oppressed. The oppressor and the oppressed are alike, are robbed of their humanity. And the oppressor and the oppressed, the two section, the two people are same. They have the same eye, ear, nose. Every human being are same, and they are full of energetic, are robbed of their humanity. So one is humanless and one is humanless, and one is humanity. One have humanity, so they are have the power to maintain peace, and one is having doesn't have any humanity and they are always oppressed by the oppressor. Okay, so this is the chapter. So now we will discuss this chapter in detail. This is the just a short summary of this chapter. Okay, see, the oath taking ceremony of Nelson Mandela, who was the first black president of South Africa, and his colleagues took place on 10th May. It was a historic occasion. It was in the history a memorable day. Dignitaries and representatives of 140 countries came to attend it. The ceremony took place in the lovely sandstone amphitheater formed by the Union buildings in Pretoria. First, Mr. De Klerk, the second deputy president, were sworn in. Nelson Mandela took oath as the president. He pledged to obey and uphold the constitution and devote himself to the well-being of the republic and its people. You know very well that when a president is elected, he has to take oath in front of the people so that he can promise in front of the people that he will look after the people and he will discharge his duty faithfully. The President Mandela addressed the guests. He welcomed and thanked them for having come to take possession with the people of his country for a common victory. Common victory of what? Freedom, for justice, for peace, and human dignity. So, along with the people, he take an oath in front of them that he will bring in South Africa the victory of justice, the victory of peace, the victory of human dignity, the victory of liberty from racial discrimination, from any kind of discrimination of class, caste, religion. So, after getting political freedom, his government pledged to liberate people from the bondage of poverty, deprivation, suffering, gender, and other discrimination. So, every discrimination or every social evil is very much harmful for the nation. You know it very well. So, after this social evil can be overcome if we have political right. Without political right, you cannot change the social and economic problem of the people. So Nelson Mandela has got that political freedom from his government, and he promised to remove the bondage of poverty, deprivation, suffering, gender discrimination. He wished the sun of freedom to shine on his country forever. So after darkness, light comes. So the sun brings light in front of us. So he wants the sun of freedom, sun of liberty, which will be shining forever in his country. After the ceremony, the display of military force was carried out. Finally, the jets left off smoke trail of different color, example black, red, green, blue, and golden color of the new South African flag. So after the president takes oath, the national anthem was sung and the flag was used to determine that our president is taking an oath and it is a very important occasion. In the end, two national anthems were sung by the whites and the blacks. One is for the black and another is for the white. Why this two national anthem was sung? Because now this two racial people is same in front of the constitution. Suppose I'm giving an example. In India, there are two sections of the people, poor and the rich. According to Marx, there are two sections, have and have nots. But in front of the constitution, in front of the country, they are same, right? So later on that day, Mandela reformed history. How he changed or how he bring a change in the history? In the first decade of the 20th century, a few years after the Anglo-Boer War, before his birth, the white skin patched up their differences and erected a system of racial discrimination against the dark-skinned people of South Africa. So the whites started a revolution against dark-skinned people in South Africa. It was the birth of apartheid, the harshest in human creation. Now, in the last decade of the 20th century, the system has been overturned forever, recognizing the rights of all people, irrespective of the color of their skin and religion. So nobody can discriminate people on the basis of color, religion, sex, gender. Everybody is same. Everybody is equal before the law, before the God, and before everybody. He remembered the suffering and courage of thousands of patriots, that is called mariters, I have already discussed you, who participate in the long struggle, but were not there to witness the fruit of their achievement. So you cannot have everything in life like that. The mariters who had participated to fight the battle, to win the battle for the country, has nowhere now to have their respect. They have lost their respect and have given their life for the country, and that is overwhelming. It was a ring of oppression and cruelty that created a deep wound in African people. So the oppression which they are facing, the blacks are facing day by day, and the cruel and the harsh treatment by the whites make a deep wound in their body. But deep oppression produced the Oliver Tombos, the Walter Sissoulers, the Yusuf Daroos, the Chief Litheliers, the Brem Fisherers, the Robert Scobbs, etc. Men of unparalleled courage, wisdom, and generosity. So, from this example, we can see at how the Mariters have their courage, wisdom, and generosity to fight for the country. Mandela thinks South African real wealth is our people who are finer, truer. One should be honest by his profession, by his activities, by his deeds, than the poor diamonds. So poorest diamonds has no wealth when you have your people in front of you. One should have unity among the others, not the unity of wealth or the rich gems and jewel. His comrades taught him what courage meant. It is not the absence of fear, but victory over it. One can achieve victory by overcoming fear. Okay? No one is born to hate another on the basis of color of the skin or religion. If they can learn to hate, then why not learn to love, which correlates naturally. So love and hate move side by side. So if one know how to hate the people, if black know, if white know how to hate black, white also know how to love black. He believed in the goodness of man that never dies. So your good deeds are remembered after your death. Every man has twin obligation. One is towards his family and the other towards his people and his country. In the ring of apartheid, if one tried to fulfill his duty towards his people, he was ripped of his family and home. So you cannot have everything. You can, some of them give an example, you cannot perform activities and co-curricular activities side by side. In one, you will get higher, and in another, you will get lower. Okay, one cannot get both these two things together. You cannot practice two things in the same time. At the same time, you cannot practice the two things, and it's not possible to get 100 out of 100 in the both the curricular and the co-curricular activities. So like this also, whenever you will get a job, you will find that in your job area, in your profession, and in your family, you will miss somewhere. It is not possible to maintain a peaceful and happy life in your family and also to your job. Somewhere you will lag behind. So here also Nelson Mandela is studying the same thing. If one tried to fulfill his duty towards his people, he was ripped of his family and home. Okay. Mandela said he was born free. Everybody is born free, but everybody is in chain. He had the freedom to run in the field, swim in the stream, and ride on a bull. Boyhood freedom was an illusion. There was nothing called freedom in life. Childhood freedom, we always talk about childhood freedom. Childhood is the best period of our life, but everywhere in childhood also, we face the same problem. We face the problem of other people's dictate, right? Boyhood freedom was an illusion for him. As a student, he wanted transitory freedom. For the transitory freedom means for a few months or a few years. It is not a permanent change. It will not change permanently. It will not a permanent freedom. Freedom to stay out at night. Your parents may allow you to read books of his choice. The parents may allow you. As a young man, he yearned for basic honorable freedom. Everybody wants freedom, which is respected by the other people. Nobody wants freedom that is temporary. Everybody wants freedom permanent. So if we want to get the permanent freedom, we should have proper respect. Self-respect is the best respect. So people want that respect, and that respect is the permanent freedom. As a young man, he yearned for basic honorable freedom of achieving his potential, of earning, of marrying and having a family. When he became a young man and joined the African National Congress Party, he first wanted freedom only for himself. If you cannot love yourself, you cannot love the others. Like that, if you cannot get the freedom of yourself, you cannot give freedom to the others. And then for all his people and his country. Both needs to be liberated. The oppressor is a prisoner of hatred. So oppressor is always getting the hatred, prejudice, and narrow-mindedness. And the oppressor and the oppressed both are raped of their humanity. So everybody is human in this world, and everybody has a respect, and that respect need to be given by the other people. So this chapter given us various value points. One we can already discuss many times about the respect, about the honorability of the other person who has given their life, how Nelson Mandela has fight for the discrimination of apartheid, how any kind of prejudice and discrimination in a society can bring harm in ourselves. So this chapter ends with the moral values, and if you have any problem, you discuss with me and come to me. Thank you.